Good morning, students. Today we are going to begin with the third unit, the first section, that is, I have a lot of sports to play. The title of the third unit is Against All Odds. Here, the word odds means the difficulties and the challenges that comes on our way in our life. So, against all odds means overcoming all the difficulties and challenges of life. So, there is a saying by Francis of Assisi. Here, Assisi is name of a place in Italy, in France. He says that start by doing what's necessary, then do what's possible, and suddenly you are doing the impossible. So here Saint Francis of Assisi, that is Saint Francis, he tells us to do what is only needed, to start with what only needed, and then do with the things that we are able to do, and then suddenly we will find that we do what we have not done before, that is the impossible things. So students, here in this chapter, that is I have a lot of sports to play, we will talk about a wheelchair basketball player. You may be thinking what this basketball means. It is a game for those who are disabled, those who are differently abled. You may have seen in the TV people playing with their hands and legs running. But this game is played by all those who have problems in their legs, those who are unable to walk. They sit on a wheelchair and play the games. And this is also a national and international sport. So, this is a real story about Kartikey Patel, who was a wheelchair basketball player. And this article was placed in the prestigious newspaper. It is taken from the Hindu, 18 February 2018 by Peter Griffin. So students, are you familiar with the word disabled and physically challenged? Nowadays, we don't say disabled, but we say differently abled. Here, the word disabled means a person having a physical or mental condition that limits their movements, sense, or activities. Disabled is the most generally accepted term to refer to people with a permanent illness or injury that makes it difficult for them to use any part of their body completely or easily. Challenged is a polite way of referring to somebody who has a disability of some sort. So, here is a unit that will make you think about an exceptional group of people in our midst, in our society. Okay, now let us read the chapter. I have a lot of sports to play. So this title is said by Kartikey Patel, who was a wheelchair basketball player. If you meet with an accident and realize that you won't be able to walk again, would you accept defeat and give up? Or would you fight back? So, let us read this inspiring passage on a young woman named Kartikey Patel. Almost 10 years ago, Kartikey Patel woke up in a hospital bed and couldn't feel her legs. She was relieved, though, that they were still there. Here the word relieved means pleased because her worry and fear had been taken away. She had been on a road trip with her cousins to Gujarat when at a turning the car went off the road. down an 8-foot drop and somersaulted. Here, the first four lines tells us that Kartikey Patel met with an accident 10 years ago when she went on a journey to Gujarat with her cousins, that a car went off the road and fell 8 foot. Here, the word somersaulted means the car rolled right over. This means the car in which they were sitting, that car rolled right over. I was sitting in the back and my feet got badly hurt. I thought amputation was the worst that could happen at that point. I thought I could exercise and get back on my feet. And that's what people kept telling me. But when I finally asked the doctor, he said, "Did nobody tell you that you are never going to walk again?" Kartikey explained in a conversational tone that her spine had been broken and the spinal cord severed. That was a big blow. I lost heart for some time. So, here in these lines, the narrator tells us that she met with an accident 10 years ago, and Kartiki herself tells us that she was sitting in the back and she got hurt badly on her feet. Here, the word amputation means cutting off somebody's leg, etc., in a medical operation. So, here, Kartiki thought that her leg has to be amputated, means cut off her leg. She thought that she can exercise and then stand on her own feet. But the doctor tells us that she will never be able to walk again, and then Kartiki tells us that her spine had been broken and her spinal cord broke into two pieces, and she lost heart for some time. Kartiki had always been enthusiastic about sports, playing basketball in college in Mumbai, even bunking lectures to put in more than 8 hours of practice every day. Even when she lost her parents, her mother died when she was in class 12, and her father in her final undergraduate year. She had kept playing. I guess it was me trying to cope with all the time I had, and with no one to tell me to study, do things. After finishing college and post graduation, she got a job, IT related back office work. A year later, the accident happened. She was 25. So, students, remember here, Kartiki had always been an enthusiastic person. As sports person have a very strong spirit, so too this Kartiki was very enthusiastic about the sports. She played basketball in college. She studied in Mumbai. Okay. She even bunked lectures in order to keep 8 hours of practice every day in. And from this line, we also come to know that she lost her parents. She lost her mother when she was only in class 12, and she also lost her father when she was in her final undergraduate year. But she did not leave the sports, and Kartiki says that it was only she who tried to deal successfully with a difficult situation. And then she got a job after completing her postgraduate. And the writer also tells us that she got accident when she was 25 years old. A senior colleague who lived with multiple sclerosis pushed her to return to work. 4 months later, she did. It took my mind off a lot of negative thoughts that kept coming into my head when I lay in bed. She says. So here the word colic means a person who walks at the same place as you. And the word multiple sclerosis means a disease of the nervous system that gets worse over a period of time with loss of feeling and loss of control of movement and speech. So, here in this last paragraph, the writer tells us that a senior colleague who lived with multiple sclerosis pushed her to return to walk, and she did it 4 months later. And she says that her mind was full of negative thoughts whenever she lay on her bed. Sport was far from her mind at that time, but a few years into the job, she was getting bored. I was happy to be earning and be on my feet again, but I was doing the same thing every day. An uncle had suggested she take up swimming, and she now took him up on it. Once she picked it up, her competitive streak took over and she entered competitions and won several medals. So these lines tells us that Kartikey was bored with her job, and as suggested by an uncle, she took up swimming. She was happy to earn, but as she had to do the same work daily, she felt bored. Here, the word competitive streak means the feeling that you have to try very hard to be better than others. So, this Kartiki had this competitive streak, and she joined in the competition and won several medals. It was at a swimming meet that Kartiki met the chairperson of the Wheelchair Basketball Federation of India, who told her about a national championship in Chennai. Kartiki landed up there but found that there were no women basketball players yet. So these lines tells us that Kartiki met with the chairperson of the Wheelchair Basketball Federation of India at the swimming competition. And it was this chairperson that told her about a championship that is to be held in Chennai. And Kartiki went there, and there she found that there was no women basketball players. Fortunately, a group of army veterans from Pune encouraged her to take her love for sports further. She started to play wheelchair badminton. Soon, she won the national 3 years in a row and represented India in para tournaments abroad, even winning a bronze medal in the Spanish Open. So here it tells us that Kartiki was encouraged by the group of army veterans from Pune, and she also started playing the wheelchair badminton, and she also won a bronze medal in the Spanish Open. And for 3 years, she won in the nationals, and she represented India in para tournament abroad. Meanwhile, WBFI was just beginning to get more women on court, and an India team was forming. So I took up basketball again. That was in 2017. So here she tells us that in 2017 she took up the basketball again, as India is forming a women team for the basketball. Students, that's all for today's class.